Hello, Infinity Kingdom audience, Norheim dwellers. This is Ray, coming with a sequel on the Arcade Battle Mechanics 101. Probably one of the most important things we have to discuss is attack and defense. What drives them, how they work. Let's not waste any more time because there's a lot to cover. So, a recap from last time. We said that the troops' HP multiplied by the number of troops is the thing that gives us our march's HP. If we look here, we will see we have an attack stat as well. And alongside its bonus. This bonus is given to us by research, troop research, alliance research, and possibly Lord talent. So we have here this warrants stats. On one side we have the troops that have their own stats, and we also have the immortal in question. Pierre is going to be our test subject, which also has its stats. Now, for attacking, if the immortal is a physical type immortal, it will use the physical attack stat. Mages will use the magical attack stat. While defending against a physical attack, the physical defense indicator will be used. Infinity Kingdom calls these stats attributes. My bad. We'll use attributes or stats interchangeably. So, where were we? Yeah. In case of a physical attack, the physical defense is used. In case of a magical attack, the magical defense is used. Notice that troop have a single modifier, a single attribute. Attack. This is used alongside magical or physical, depending on the troop. Although for frontline, too few units, immortals, have or use magical attack. I think it's only Lewis who uses it. When you know he uses physical or magical, you could query his ultimate skill where it says inflicts physical damage. When you read physical, that means it will use this stat here. Mages, let's see if I have one, will say magical damage. Okay, so this will make it, in her case, in Cleopatra's case, we will use then the magical attack. Good. Now comes the tough part, pulling it all together. So, in a battle, and now probably switch to a more illustrative image. In a battle, we use the troops. We call this, so when we multiply the troops' attack by the number of the troops, we call that resulting number the troops attack. That troops attack is combined alongside the immortal's physical attack to produce a resulting damage. We call this the raw damage or damage output, some may call it. Now, this damage is softened by the opponent's defense. If we're dealing with a physical attack, the opponent's physical defense will be used, and the troops' physical defense as well. So we multiply the troops' defense with the number of troops, and factor in the immortal's defense. This will produce a number which is used to dampen or soften the initial blow. Here we will give an example by taking two pairs which are evenly matched and have different troop stats, and we'll see how these attributes combine themselves. So, it's going to be this one versus this one. Notice that the Immortal's attributes are roughly the same, while their differences are in troop stats: HP, attack, and defense. So, let's assume this one launches an attack. We will take this value, physical attack, from the Immortal and combine that with the total number of troops we have here times the attack of each troop. This will get deducted when attacking this guy by taking into account the Immortal's physical defense alongside his total number of troops multiplied by the total descent of each troop. So roughly, we will see something like this. These two multiplied, though here, alongside this factor, and the resistance comes from the troop resistance given by the defense and numbers, and this Immortal's resistance. The difference, in some way, will become the damage you see on screen divided by the troop health. It is worth noting at this point that troops matter, which is why you see everybody fighting over Prince title, because the number of troops you have will give you an edge over your opponent, as you will see later on. It is also worth noting here that nuances of attacks. We know we have skills that said that we are increasing the Immortal's attack. This is just one aspect. We also need to factor in the troops' total attack. This is why skills like Onslaught aren't as good as skills like Anger. Anger says that it increases the damage output. What does that mean? As we said, when all of this is combined, the resulting damage, which here can be any number, this is the output. This is what gets increased. An increase at this stage of the damage is generally bigger than just increasing this one. Again, we will see on the numbers where we do the simulations. An Immortal with a high attack but a low troop count would have a lower damage. Again, an Immortal with a sufficiently higher troop count will have a bigger defense. So notice the implications of this. Of course, we do not know the exact ways these are combined, so we don't know the scaling, the factors, or the exact math formula, but we will see further along that this intuitively is true. Let's move on to see some demos. And we have prepared here a battle to showcase. You can see here that the two units are very similar in terms of immortal strength. Both have roughly the same attack, roughly the same equipment, roughly, it's the exact same equipment, the exact same cultivation level. There's just one difference in troop number. One has slightly more because it's level 30 castle, while the other one has slightly less because it's still castle level 20 line. However, you will notice that one of the troops' attack and defense and HP are different because of the alliance buff. One is in a higher alliance, blue in this case, and the other one, FBO, doesn't have its alliance tech that evolves. This illustrates one thing: the immortals were the same. So what made the difference? Troop attack, of course. So the one with the higher troop attack will win when all others are the same. So this proves the point that troop attack multiplied by the number of troops is, in fact, a key factor in deciding the final damage that gets done. Let's apply some rules from the previous lesson we had about HP. We can clearly see here in the report that, but this is from Lord Ray's perspective, he dealt 2,600,000 damage to the other one. We have here the total damage, 2,600,000 yabbity yabbity, divided by, we know the other one has more HP, so it's 307. Hopefully I did it correctly. So this is the number of troops that we have killed. Let's store this one. Then check the report. So we can clearly see here 2,000 something troops survived out of our total 10,719 minus the remainder. We get this one. And now let's compare it with the one we have here recalled. Then we can see they are pretty similar, but they're not quite the same. This is another, I think we may have, we go our hunch. It's because in battle, if you look at the replays, you will always see on the screen the number of troops that are lost, not total HP. And now this has two questions. When you hit and you don't kill a full troop, but rather half a troop, does the screen show one more troop or one less troop? What I'm trying to say here, that remainders can be ignored by the battle system, and because of this, these kinds of errors can appear. Because one troop wasn't discredited here and another troop and kept on fighting, that troop contributed longer to the HP, and it results in these slight differences. Now, another factor to understand here is that as the battle progresses, if the number of troops influences the battle, then you will have, or in certain battles where the opponent is superior, you will have what we call here the snowball effect. And it's that when his attack is greater than yours, meaning after each hit you will continue to lose more troops than him, you would have a significantly higher amount of troops, which means more attack. On the other hand, you would have lost more troops and you would have also a smaller defense in return. And as the battle progresses, he's going to dish out, as a consequence, more damage to you, which will further decrease the gap between you both. Yeah, in this battle, as you can see, I have reduced the number of troops to be the same. So now, the only thing that differentiates them apart is the troops' attack number. We will begin by skimming through and looking at just what interests us. Namely, the first 1 or 2 hits. Here, we have reduced the attacker's troops by about 25% from the other ones. So in this one, I have reduced the attack and sadly also the defense because I unequipped his weapon. But now I can say his attack is roughly at half. His defense has also taken a hit. But we're just going to look at how much damage he deals, because the opponent has the exact same defense. So, in this battle, I increased his attack up to 31%. Sadly, the defense also increased a little because of this. Let's summarize what we saw. We saw battle replays, for which we tinkered with some key aspects of what we discussed in this video. We only recorded the first hit of each of the participants, because this is the one where we have the full information. After each hit, the troop count will go down and more uncertainty in our measurements is shown. So, this is the first battle we saw, where we have a difference of 80% more troop attack for Yo, because he had alliance research. And we can see by the number that he did 25% more damage. So this shows that troop attack is a thing and is a core mechanic of the battle system. In the second battle, we gave Yo 25% less soldiers and recorded the damage. With 25% less soldiers, he did approximately 80% less damage, so the reference is going to be this one. His opponent didn't change anything. And we're not truly interested in these. We're interested in these because we only changed here troop count. This is another proof that troop count matters. And the battle formula that I said is true. The only thing is we don't know the exact coefficients each of these attacks are multiplied or divided or whatever else IK does under their hood in their battle system. Nevertheless, moving on to the third battle we saw in the replay here, we unequipped the attack equipment, which reduced his immortal damage and also gave him 35% less defense. It isn't a big thing because we're only interested in the damage he did for now. So we can see 45% less immortals resulted in similar damage as in 25% less soldiers. This shows that the rate that soldiers matter more than immortal attack, at least at this stage of the game. We can see that it's not directly proportional, so an increase in troop number doesn't give the same increase as an increase in immortal attack does. In Flying Battle, we gave your 31% more immortal attack by equipping an artifact, and we can see that from the baseline he didn't do much damage. So this shows that immortal attack is not as important as troop attack and troop count. These are my conclusions for now. I hope to be able to do these simulations again on higher level immortals and see if the behavior we saw here is reflected even in those situations. Please like the video if this has helped you and you found it informative and thought-provoking. Bye now.